Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam view class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam review class. We are discussing from the ninth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and so far we have discussed the dynasty of sun god, as we discussed in the beginning of this ninth canto. So this ninth canto describes two dynasties which are coming from the sun god and dynasties which are coming from the moon god. So till 13th chapter, the dynasty of sun god was described, and Shukdev Goswami ended the discussion by describing the wonderful pastime of Lord Ram, how he went to forest and he uh, Mother Sita was kidnapped, and ultimately Lord Ram, with the help of monkeys, Hanumanji and Sugriv and all the other monkeys, he conquered Mother Sita. He got Mother Sita back and killed Ravana. And then Shukdev Goswami describes the descendants. He described the descendants of Lord Ram, the whole dynasty of Kusha, and then he described about the dynasties of the kings who will come in the future also. So now in the 14th chapter, which is entitled King Pururava, enchanted by Urvashi. So Shukdev Goswami describes that so far you have heard about the Sun dynasty in first 13 chapters of the 9th canto. Now hear the purifying description of the Moon dynasty. So next 11 chapters will describe the dynasty of sun god, Moon. And then Shukdev Goswami says in that dynasty, the famous king called Aila and many others, they have appeared. Aila is also called by the name as Pururava. So we have heard about Pururava, Aila in the past also. So today we'll be discussing in more detail. So Shukdev Goswami describes that from Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is also known as Sahasra Shirisha Purusha. So from the Garbhodaksha Vishnu's navel, the Lord Brahma comes out. That is, lotus flower comes out, and on that lotus, Lord Brahma is born. And from Lord Brahma, Atri Muni is born. And Atri Muni, we have heard the story of Atri Muni, how he begot three sons from Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. We discussed the story in the 4th canto in the beginning. So Shukdev Goswami says that Atri Muni, he begot sun god, moon god or Soma. So Shukdev Goswami says that Soma, he was born of the tears of Atri Muni. When Lord, he appeared in front of Atri Muni, he became so very joyous that he started crying tears, and from those tears, because they were as soothing as these tears were full of soothing rays. So that's why the Brahmaji, when this Soma god was born, Soma was born. Brahmaji, he appointed him as the director of the Brahmanas, medicinal herbs, and the stars. So Prabhupada writes that there are two opinions about the birth of Soma. So we have heard about Soma in the fourth canto, how Soma appears as the son of Atri and Anusuya from the tears of Atri Muni. So, and it is said that Anusuya was impregnated by the tears of Atri, and from those tears, Soma was born. But it is also said that Soma is the uh, Soma is coming from the mind of Supreme Lord. Chandrama Manasa Jata. So Chandrama, the moon god, is uh, takes birth from the mind of Supreme Lord. So actually, Prabhupada writes that these two versions are not contradictory. They have happened in different kalpas. So then, Shukadeva Goswami describes about the story of Soma. So Soma, he was so very powerful that he conquered all the three worlds and he performed Rajasuya Yagya. Because he was so powerfully conquered the entire world, naturally what happens when somebody gets all the power, wealth, prestige? We have heard in the 8th canto, Lord tells Bali Maharaj that Janma Karma Vayo Rupa Vidya Aishwarya Dhanadibhi Yadi Yasya Na Bhavet Stambha Tatrayam Mad Anugrahat. So Lord is telling Bali Maharaj, if somebody has great wealth, beauty, fortune, strength, Aishwarya, Vidya, knowledge, if somebody has all these things, but still he is not proud of it, that means he has received mercy of me. So therefore, unless one gets mercy of the Lord, it is so very difficult to be calm and composed in midst of all the opulences. So moon god, Soma, he becomes puffed up and he becomes so very uh, overwhelmed with this money and the wealth and the prestige which he had. He completely gets bewildered. He forgets to even respect his spiritual master and he kidnaps the wife of Brihaspati, Tara. Brihaspati is a spiritual master of all the devatas. He becomes moon god Soma, he becomes so very intoxicated that he kidnaps even the wife of his own spiritual master Brihaspati. Brihaspati, he repeatedly requested Soma to return Tara, but Soma, he was so very proud, he did not return. As a result of that, there was a fight which started between demigods and the demons. So, because there was an enmity, natural enmity between Shukracharya and Brihaspati, when Shukracharya came to know that Brihaspati wants to fight with Soma, so Shukracharya, he told all the demons that you go and side with Soma. So although Soma is a devata, but to get Tara and to get whatever he wanted, he is ready to even take help of the demons. Lord Shiva, because he had learned a spiritual knowledge from Angira, and Angira is the father of Brihaspati. So Shiva had natural affection for Brihaspati. So Shiva, Lord Shiva, and all his associates, ghosts and hobgoblins, they came and they sided with Brihaspati. All the devatas, Brihaspati and Lord Shiva on one side, and Soma, Shukracharya and all the demons on the other side. And then a very fierce fight started. When Brahma, he came to know from Angira what has happened, he went and he severely chastised Soma. And then Soma, out of his respect for Lord Brahma, he delivered Tara to Soma, and Brahmaji, he delivered Tara to her husband. But then Brihaspati realized that she was already pregnant at that time. So Brihaspati, when he came to know this, he started chastising Tara. O foolish woman, your womb was meant to be impregnated by me, but somebody else has done it. Immediately deliver the child. So Brihaspati was so very mad. He did not even want to wait. He said, immediately deliver the child. And then he tells that, Tara may be very fearful that after the child is born, maybe, Brihaspati will curse me or he will kill me. So Brihaspati, he assures Tara, be assured, after the child is delivered, I will not curse you. And he says that, although I know that you are unchaste, but you wanted a son, that's why you have done this thing. I shall not punish you. So when Tara, she heard all this, she was very ashamed. She immediately delivered the child, immediately gave birth to a child. That child was having a golden hue. When the child was born, with this very beautiful child, both Brihaspati and Soma desired that child. Both claimed that this is my son. Again, a fight ensued between Brihaspati and Soma. All the devatas, all the sages, they came and asked Tara, whose son is this? Tara, she was so very ashamed that she was not speaking anything. Child, when he is seeing all this, small child, he becomes angry on Tara. He says, what is the use of your unnecessary shame? You have committed a fault, and why don't you admit your fault? So Tara is in a very, very complex, very perplexed situation. Her own son is, criticizing her, and all the devatas, everybody is asking, whose son is this? Brahmaji, he realizes the situation. He brought Tara to a secluded place and pacified her and asked her, please tell me whose son is this? So Tara, she was so very ashamed. She spoke very slowly, softly, that this is the son of Soma. Soma, he immediately took charge of the son, and he was so very happy getting such a wonderful son. This Soma, the son of Soma, because he was so very intelligent, Brahmaji could see that, because he told his mother, why don't you admit your fault? Lord Brahma, he gave the name Buddha, and that is one of the planets. So this Buddha, we have heard the story of Ela, one of the sons of Vayavasvata Manu. He was born as Sudyumna, and Sudyumna became Ela because he entered the forest where Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati was there. So Buddha begot a son from Ela, and that son was called as Pururava. So once Narad Muni, he was describing the strength, beauty, power, magnanimity, wonderful behavior, and wonderful nature of Pururava in the court of Indra. Because this Pururava, he was so very qualified, cultured, powerful king. When Narad Muni was describing the beauty and all these wonderful features of Pururava, one of the celestial women, Urvashi, she became attracted hearing the qualities of Pururava. Because, she was completely pierced by the arrow of Cupid, she approached Pururava. So it is described that, once Varuna and Mitra, they both had cursed Urvashi that you will develop the human traits. That's why Urvashi started developing attraction for Pururava, a person on the earthly planet. Urvashi is a Apsara, but she became attracted to Pururava because of this curse. So she came down And because she had heard so much about Pururava, her heart and mind was completely overwhelmed with lust. She somehow controlled herself and approached Pururava. Pururava, when he saw this beautiful Apsara coming from heavens, he also became jubilant, and he also went into ecstasy of joy seeing this Urvashi. Urvashi, because she was cursed, so she desired to spend some time on Bhumandala, on earth, and expend her curse and then again go back. So Pururava, when he saw that Urvashi had come, he welcomed Urvashi. He said, "Oh, most beautiful women, please sit here. What can I do for you? You know, please enjoy with me as long as you want." When Urvashi, she heard this, she already had the desire to enjoy with Pururava. She replied, "Oh, most handsome man, who is that woman, whose mind and sight would not be attracted by hearing your praise, your glories? Nobody can refuse you." So Urvashi says that although I am from heaven and you are from earth, but because of your wonderful qualities, I have no problem accepting you as my husband because you are qualified in all respects. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that a woman who finds a man with superior qualities can accept the man, even if the man is from the lower caste. Similarly for the women, as Chanakya Pandit says, Stri Ratnam Dushkulad Api. Even if a woman is from a lower family, if she is endowed with good qualities, she can be accepted as wife. Urvashi, she says, I am ready to stay with you, but I have three conditions. Very interesting conditions she has. She says that I have these two lambs who have fallen with me. Please take care of them. Secondly, I shall eat only preparations made in pure ghee. Thirdly, she says, I do not want to see you naked at any time except at the time of sex. So Prabhupada writes that the inhabitants of heaven, although they are so very beautiful, well behaved, cultured, powerful, long lived, they have first class eating habits. So they eat food which is cooked in ghee. They eat food which is in the mode of goodness. They are not interested in eating any non-vegetarian foods. And then Prabhupada writes that because they are so very cultured society means the body should be covered. And Prabhupada writes, therefore, these women, this Urvashi and any denizen of heaven, they do not like to see anybody naked. So therefore, these are the three promises, three conditions which Urvashi is having. Pururava, because he was already interested, he very happily accepted all the conditions and enjoyed with Urvashi for thousands of years. For many, many years he enjoyed. Then after this, and he enjoyed in Nandan Kanan and Chitraratha gardens. After enjoying for all these days, he was completely absorbed in sense gratification. Urvashi, because it is described that the bodies of the celestial apsaras, they are fragrant. Our bodies emit all the foul smelling substances. The bodies of the apsaras and the denizens of heaven, they emit fragrant odor. So the body of Urvashi was as fragrant as a lotus pollen. And this Pururava, he was so very enlivened by associating with Urvashi. Enjoyed the company of Urvashi for many days. Indra is always getting disturbed. He was thinking, without Urvashi, this my assembly has lost its charm and I am not getting that same pleasure. So he told Gandharvas, you go and bring back Urvashi. So Gandharvas, they made a plan. They went at the palace of Pururava in the middle of the night, dead of the night, and they stole the lamps. When Urvashi, she realized, because the lamps, they started making, crying and, you know, creating lots of noise. Urvashi, she realized that my lamps are getting stolen. She started criticizing Pururava. My unworthy husband is like coward and eunuch. He thinks himself to be a hero, but he is of no use. In the daytime, he thinks that he is a man, great personality, but like a woman, he is lying down at the night. Very strong. Urvashi says, because I depended on him, now I am doomed. I am deprived of my two lambs, my sons. Urvashi would treat the two lambs as her sons. Pururava, when he heard all these sharp words of Urvashi, he became very angry. Even without dressing himself properly, he took a sword in his hand and he went naked to, you know, rescue these lambs. And then here, Gandharvas, when they saw that this Pururava is coming, they gave up the lamp and they started shining very brilliantly. They illuminated the entire palace of Pururava. And Urvashi, she saw this. She saw her husband with the lamps in his hand. Pururava was naked. Urvashi, as soon as she saw this, she left him. Pururava, when he saw, because the promise was broken, that was the promise, that was the condition. I should not see you naked apart from the time we are enjoying together. Urvashi immediately left. Pururava, when he saw Urvashi leaving, he was aggrieved. He lamented. And he began wandering all over the world just like a madman. As he was wandering, once he saw Urvashi at Kurukshetra. Urvashi was with 5 of her companions. Pururava, when he saw Urvashi, he became so very jubilant. He begged Urvashi, "Oh, my dear wife, oh most cruel one, please stay." He says that I know I have not given any happiness to you, but you should not give me up for that reason. Even if you are not ready to stay with me, you have decided to give up my company, still please talk to me for some time. Stay here, talk to me for some time. And then Pururava says, now that you have refused me, my body will fall dead here, like, because it is unfit for your pleasure. It will be eaten by foxes and vultures. He was pleading, he was begging to Urvashi, please accept me, please don't go away. He was completely mad for Urvashi. Urvashi, when he saw this condition of Pururava, she became a little compassionate. She started instructing Pururava. She said, "Oh great hero, you are a man, you are a great hero. Don't be impatient, don't give up your life." And then she describes the nature of a woman when she is, having a polluted or evil mindedness. She says, don't allow the foxes of the senses to overcome you. Senses, first of all, he describes how senses are. She says that because the senses, when they are not under control, when the senses are overwhelmed with desire to enjoy, dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate, and ultimately a person is destroyed. Because Pururava, he was so very mad for Urvashi. He was obsessed with the desire to enjoy with Urvashi. He was completely mad. He wanted to give up his life. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the 10 stages of lust. When a person, is afflicted by Cupid, he becomes completely mad for the opposite person, opposite gender, for the beloved. And many times the person ends committing suicide or killing himself. He dies. That is the 10th stage of attack of the arrow of Cupid. So Urvashi is saying, you are such a great personality, you are a hero. Why are you behaving like this? Don't allow the foxes of your senses to overcome you. And that's how we have to be really careful in the process of devotional service. Our senses, they are our prime enemies if they are not controlled. That's why Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and all the scriptures, they focus on controlling the senses. Andhasya merita vivek mahadhanasya chaurai prabho balibirindriya namadheyah मोहान्धकूपकुहरे विनिपातितस्य देवेश देहि कृपणस्य करावलंबम. Kulakshekhar Maharaj is saying, I have become blinded, just like Pururava. Kulakshekhar Maharaj is saying, I have become blinded out of his humility, although he is a pure devotee. He is saying out of his humility. Andhasya me, I have become blinded. Why? My vision, my intelligence is stolen away. Rita Vivek, my power of discrimination is stolen. Who has stolen it? Chaurai Prabho Balibhirindriya Namadheyaha. They are very great dacoits. They are very, very powerful thieves. They are called senses. Chaurai Prabho Balibhir Indriya Namadheya. And that's why what has happened? Mohandhakupa kuhare vinipati tasya. I have fallen in this deep, dark well of material illusion. Devesh dehi kripanasya karavalambam. And therefore, O my Lord, by mercy of your devotees, by your mercy, somehow I have come to your shelter. Please give me your mercy. So Urvashi is telling that don't allow the foxes of your senses to overcome you and eat you. She says that don't make friendship with women because the hearts of women, they are many times like foxes. She says a very strong statement. She says women as a class are merciless, cunning and intolerant. They can do anything. They can kill even their husband and brother if they are not pacified. She says polluted and independent minded women, they can do anything. Therefore, please don't allow your senses to be devoured by such mentality. Prabhupada clarifies this because this looks a very, very strong statement. Prabhupada clarifies that unless one is elevated in spiritual consciousness, anyone can go to this level. Everybody is conditioned, everybody is fallen. And specifically, this is talking about the royalty. And we have seen in the history, there are many many queens who have even killed their husbands to enjoy the kingdom themselves or to give kingdom to their sons. So therefore, this is representing a conditioned mindset, not a particular class. Prabhupada quotes also this Chanakya Pandit. He says, if a wife does not have a good heart, it is better to enter the forest. Mata yasya grihe nasti bharya cha priyavadini aranyam tena gantavyam yatharanyam yathagriham. He says, if mother is not good and if wife does not speak nice words, then home is as good as forest only. Urvashi, although she spoke so strongly, Pururava was still overwhelmed with lust. He was not pacified. He was not enlightened by the words of Urvashi. So Urvashi, she gave a concession. She said, okay, You can enjoy with me as husband once, only one night in a year. In this way, you will get children. So when Pururava, he heard all this, he accepted it because Pururava realized that Urvashi was then pregnant. Pururava returned to his palace after 1 year again at the Kurukshetra. He met Urvashi, and by that time Urvashi was the mother of a great heroic son. Pururava enjoyed with Urvashi for one night, and as he was enjoying with Urvashi, he was lamenting. Why he was lamenting? Because he was thinking about separation. I'll get separated from Urvashi. Just like, and this is complete perverted reflection of the devotees. How they, when they meet Krishna, when the gopis they would meet Krishna, they would be lamenting, oh, Krishna will go away. This is complete perverted reflection. That is spiritual love. This is complete lust, or this is for personal enjoyment. Pururava is lamenting. He is just overwhelmed with the thought of separation. Urvashi, when she saw this, she told Pururava, worship Gandharvas. They will be able to deliver me to you. And then Pururava and Urvashi left. So Pururava, he prayed to all the Gandharvas, and Gandharvas, they gave him Agnisthali. So this Agnisthali looked exactly like Urvashi. This Pururava, he was so very lusty. Immediately, as soon as he got this Agnisthali, he wanted to enjoy with her. But then he realized very soon that she was not Urvashi. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that actually Agnisthali was not a girl. Gandharvas, they gave him a sacrificial vessel, Agnisthali, Agnisthal. And they told Pururava that you do sacrifice using this sacrificial vessel, then you will be promoted to the place where Urvashi is staying. But Pururava was so very overwhelmed with lust. He did not even realize that this was not a girl, this was a vessel. And when time came, when he developed the desires to enjoy sex life, then he realized, oh, she's not a girl, she's just a vessel. It is just a vessel. Pururava, he immediately left Agnisthali and he meditated on Urvashi. As he was meditating on Urvashi, Treta Yuga began. In Treta Yuga, the karma, the three principles of the Vedas, they were taught, headed by the principle of sacrifice. We have heard Krite yad dhyayate Vishnu tretayam yajato makhai dvapare paricharyayam kalautad hari kirtanat. There are different ways to achieve God in different yugas. In Satya Yuga, one can attain God by doing meditation. In Treta Yuga, one can attain by doing huge fire sacrifices. In Dwapar Yuga, one can attain Krishna by deity worship. And in Kali Yuga, one can attain Krishna by chanting the names of the Lord. So in this Treta Yuga, because the prime means to attain whatever one desires was sacrifice. So the process of sacrifice appeared as he was meditating. Immediately, Pururava, he went to the spot of Yagya, where he had left Agnisthali. There, he saw a Ashwatha tree growing. He took some wood from that Ashwatha tree and he made into two aranis. Aranis is sacred kindling sticks. That means the stick which is used to kindle fire in the sacrificial arena. He was so very obsessed with the thought of enjoying with Urvashi. Desiring to go to Urvashi, he meditated, he chanted mantras, and he considered the lower part of the stick as Urvashi, upper part of the stick as himself, middle part as the sun. That's how he was meditating. And by such sacrificial fire, Shukdev Goswami says, one can achieve anything desirable. By this sacrifice, Pururava, he satisfied Lord Hari, and ultimately he managed to go to the place where Urvashi was staying. So Shukdev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, he may get a doubt. What was the method of karma mentioned in the three Vedas, mentioned when the three Vedas were not existing separately? Because, Shukdev Goswami just said that the method was yajna when the three Vedas appeared. What was the method? So Shukdev Goswami answers that in Satya Yuga, what was the method to attain God? Eka eva pura veda pranava sarvavangmayah devo narayano nanya ekogner varna evacha. He says, formerly there was only one Veda. There was only one mantra, Om. There was only one worshipable deity, Narayan. And there was one fire and one caste. And Prabhupada writes that in Satyuga, there was only one Veda called Atharva Veda. And some say Yajurveda. This Atharva Veda was later divided into three more Vedas. So they became four. Rig Ved, Samved, Yajurveda and Atharva Veda. And then Prabhupada writes, Omkar, which was the prime mantra in Satyuga, is the same as this Hare Krishna mantra. The worship of Supreme Lord is the supreme worship. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. So by chanting of this Hare Krishna mantra in this Kali Yuga, one can attain all the perfection of life. So Prabhupada writes that. And Prabhupada says that, in Satya Yuga, unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot utter this Omkara. But in Kali Yuga, everybody is a Shudra. Nobody is qualified to chant this Omkar. So therefore, Mahaprabhu, out of his mercy, he has come and he has given this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. Ei gupta bhava sindhu brahma napa eka bindu hena dhana vilaila samsare. Aishwarya lu avatar aiche data nahi ar guna keha nare varni vare. So out of his mercy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give the highest to everybody. He has come to give highest to the lowest. We are not qualified to do meditation. We cannot do yajnas. We cannot do deity worship. But only thing which is most easy and available for everybody is chanting the names of the Lord. So Shukdev Goswami says that Pururava, by performing this karma kandi sacrifice, he pleased the Supreme Lord and he was able to go to Gandharva Loka. So that is the end of the 14th chapter. So in this 15th chapter, now Shukdev Goswami describes the descendants of Pururava. He says, Pururava, he had 6 sons from Urvashi, Ayu, Shrutayu, Shatayu, Raya, Vijaya and Jaya. So Ayu, the dynasty of Ayu will be described in the 17th chapter. He says Shrutayu's son was Vasuman, Shatyayu's son was Shrutanjaya, Raya had Eka as his son, Vijaya's son was Bhima and Jaya's son was Amita. Bhima, he was one of the prominent kings, and in his dynasty there was one person called Janu. So he was so very powerful that he drank the entire Ganga in one sip. And Janu's son was Puru, and ultimately in his dynasty there was a great king called Gadhi. Gadhi had 101 progeny. Gadhi had 2 sons, 2 children, 1 daughter, Satyavati, and son as Vishwamitra. Satyavati's son was Jamadagni, and Jamadagni's son was Parshuram. So after describing this story in brief, this lineage in brief, now Shukdev Goswami describes the story of the daughter of Gadhi. So this Gadhi, his daughter was Satyavati, and a sage called Richika, he requested Gadhi that you please give your daughter to me in marriage. Gadhi, he regarded that this Richika was not fit for marriage. So he put a condition. He said, because we are aristocratic Kshatriyas, you have to give me dowry for my daughter. This is completely opposite of what is happening. So this person, Gadhi, is saying, you have to give me dowry to get my daughter. So he says that, therefore, what you have to do, what is the dowry? Bring at least 1,000 shining white horses with which have 1 ear black, either left or right. So when Richika, this sage, he understood the intentions of this King Gadhi, he approached Varuna. And from Varuna, he brought the 1,000 horses and gave to this Gadhi, and he married Satyavati. So once Richika's wife Satyavati and mother-in-law, they both desired son. So Richika, he was a very powerful sage, so he made all the arrangements. He prepared 2 sacrificial arenas, and he prepared special oblations, one for his wife with a Brahmana mantra, because he was a Brahmana, so he wanted to have a Brahmana son. So he prepared a sacrificial oblation of rice with a Brahmana mantra for his wife. And for his mother-in-law, he made a oblation with a Kshatriya mantra. And then he went out to bathe. So the mother-in-law, Satyavati's mother, she thought, because husband is generally more inclined to the wife, so Richika must have prepared a better oblation for Satyavati. So Satyavati's mother, she went to her daughter Satyavati and she requested that you please give me your oblation and you take mine. So Satyavati, she agreed immediately she agreed, and she took the oblation which was meant for her mother and she ate it. And her mother ate the oblation which was meant for Satyavati. When Richika, the sage, returned, he realized what had happened. He understood. He became very angry. He told his wife, your son will be a fierce Kshatriya who will be carrying a rod of punishment, Dandadhara. And your brother, because mother's son, brother, he says, your brother will be the best of the Brahmanas, a learned scholar in the spiritual science. Satyavati, when she heard this, she became very sad. She pacified Richika and she told, please do something. I do not want a Kshatriya son. So Richika, he said, okay. As a concession, your son will become a Brahmana, but your grandson will become a Kshatriya. And that is Lord Parshuram. So Satyavati, in due course, gave birth to Jamadagni. And Shukdev Goswami says that Satyavati, she became river Kaushiki. And she is purifying the whole world. So Jamadagni, he married Renuka and he begot many sons. And the youngest of the sons of Jamadagni was Lord Parshuram. Parshuram, he is himself the incarnation of Lord Vasudeva. Shukdev Goswami says that this Parshuram destroyed the entire dynasty of Kshatriyas 21 times. Because these Kshatriyas, they were very proud. They were against the principles of Brahminical culture. They were completely covered with passion and ignorance, and they became a burden on earth. So therefore, Parshuram destroyed them. And Prabhupada in purports describe in detail how a government should be ruled, the citizens should be ruled by a government who is completely devoted to Brahminical culture. So that is ideal culture. The Kshatriyas should be ruled by the Brahmanas. Brahmanas should give the instructions and Kshatriyas should rule. One time, somebody asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what if we conquer the entire world? If entire world becomes Krishna consciousness, then we will make you as the king of the world. Prabhupada said, no, I'll not become the king. He said, I'll become the spiritual master of the king. I will give directions. That is the ideal varnashram. So Prabhupada writes in the purport there that although nowadays this monarchy is abolished because the kings were not following the rules and regulations, but now what has happened? They have established Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras as the government leaders. And these people are even more degraded many times. And then Prabhupada describes in the purport what will happen at the end of Kali Yuga. The government people, the politicians, they will rule and they will completely devour the citizens. They'll become like dacoits. So then Shukdev Goswami describes, when he describes this, Parikshit Maharaj gets a doubt. He says, what was the offense of the Kshatriyas? That this Parshuram, he annihilated them repeatedly. So Shukdev Goswami explains. There was a king called Kartivirya Arjuna. He was the king of Hayhayas. He worshipped Lord Dattatreya, and by his mercy he received 1,000 arms. And he became so very powerful, so very puffed up. He was undefeatable. He was having unlimited beauty, influence, strength, fame, mystic power, everything he had. He roamed around the universe without any opposition. He was so very powerful. Once, this Kartivirya Arjuna, he was taking bath in Narmada river with many of his wives. With his arms, he stopped the flow of Narmada river. And because the flow was stopped, the river overflowed in the opposite direction. It so happened that Ravana, he was doing tapasya to please the demigods uphill. And his entire place was inundated with water of the Narmada river. He became so very angry. Being intolerant, he came and attacked Kartivirya Arjuna. Kartivirya Arjuna, he was so very powerful. Just like a monkey is captured, Kartivirya Arjuna, he captured Ravana in one of his armpits, and he completely dragged him and he put him in his custody at the capital of Mahishmati. And then out of his mercy, nonchalantly, he released Ravana after some time. Because he was thinking Ravana is insignificant. Neglectfully, he released him. That was the power of Kartivirya Arjuna. Once, Kartivirya Arjuna, he was hunting in the forest along with his soldiers. Kartivirya Arjuna, along with all the soldiers, they reached the ashram of Jamadagni. This sage, Jamadagni, was performing austerities to please the Lord, absorbed in meditation. But as soon as he realized that this Kartivirya Arjuna, the king, has come, he got up, he received the king, soldiers, ministers, very nicely. He gave them all nice welcome, arranged everything for them. He gave them a good feast. All the soldiers and Kartivirya Arjuna, they were completely amazed, because they were not expecting such royal welcome from this very simple sage. Kartivirya Arjuna, then he realized that this sage had a Kamdhenu cow. This Kamdhenu cow could supply everything. So Prabhupada writes, actually Kartivirya Arjuna, he was so very puffed up. He had no business going at the ashram of Jamadagni, but he wanted to show his prowess. That's why he went there. When he realized that this sage had a cow. He ordered his soldiers that you take away this cow, because he was saying that this Jamadagni is more opulent than me. He became so very envious. He ordered the soldiers, you take away this cow. So the soldiers, they forcibly took away the cow and the calf. When Parshuram, he returned and he realized what had happened, he became so very angry, like a snake which has been trampled. He started becoming very angry. He started trembling out of anger, taking up his fierce axe, shield, bow, and arrows. He chased Kartivira Arjuna. Kartivira Arjuna, when he saw that this Parshuram is coming, he was dressed in black skin. He had matted locks of hair, carrying his fierce axe. Kartivira Arjuna became fearful. He sent 17 Akshohini of armies, soldiers equipped with all the weapons, clubs, swords, lances, mace, arrows, shatagni, and all the various types of weapons to attack Parshuram. Prabhupada in the purport, he describes in detail, if somebody wants to know what is an Akshohini division, you can refer this purport, 29 or 30th purport of this chapter. Very huge, elaborate description of what is an Akshohini division. So this Kartivira Arjuna, he describes, he sent the 17 Akshohini divisions. Parshuram was so very powerful. Alone he killed them all. First he entered in the middle of these 17 Akshohini divisions, and just like with the speed of mind, he started killing them. And then after some time, he became little tired. He slowed down to the speed of wind. All the 17 Akshohini divisions were killed. The whole ground was flooded with the blood. That was the power of Parshuram. Kartivirya, when he saw this, that his soldiers were completely destroyed, their hands, legs, everything was cut. Kartivirya Arjuna, he became very angry. He rushed to the battlefield. He started attacking Parshuram. With his 1,000 hands, he took 500 arrows and bows and shot them all at once at Parshuram. Parshuram, with single bow and arrow, released sufficient arrows to destroy all the 500 arrows. That was the power of Parshuram. When Kartivir Arjuna, he saw this, he became very angry. He started, uprooting the trees, uprooting the hills and throwing at Parshuram. Parshuram, nonchalantly, he destroyed all these things. With his axe, he cut off all the arms of Kartivira Arjuna. Just like a person, just like a serpent's head is cut off, similarly, Parshuram was cutting the hands of Kartivira Arjuna. And then ultimately, Parshuram cut off the head of Kartivira. Seeing this, all the 10,000 sons of Kartivira Arjuna, they fled in fear. Parshuram, he brought back the Kamdhenu cow along with the calf, and he reached the place of his father's ashram. So Prabhupada writes there that this is the result of a person who is so much puffed up with power. One may possess material opulence, but if somebody gets proud, becomes puffed up because of the opulence, he will end up in this way. He'll be destroyed. That's how we have to be really careful when we are dealing with others, when we are in devotional service. We may get lots of powers, lots of skills, lots of abilities, capabilities we may develop. We may become expert in so many fields, but we may not kill others. We may not externally, in a gross way, demean other Vaishnavas, but we may be thinking about other Vaishnavas in the mind as a, in a very uh, thinking that, oh, these people are not so, advanced. I am so very advanced. I am at this level. I have so much of the responsibilities. I have so much of the skills. I have so much of the capacity. The result will become proud and will be destroyed, will offend Vaishnavas. So therefore, this is very, very important to understand. So this is how when uh, this Kartivirya Arjuna, he was killed by Parshuram, he returned to Jamadagni along with the cow and the calf. Jamadagni, when he came to know what had happened, he instructed Parshuram. He said, "Oh my son, you have committed a great sin. The king is representative of God. He should not be killed. He is the embodiment of all the devatas. You have unnecessarily killed a king." He says, forgiveness pleases the Supreme Lord. Forgiveness makes the Brahmanas worshipable. He says, Vayam hi Brahmanas tata shamayarhana tam gataha gaya lok gurur devaha parameshtyam magat padam. He says, oh my dear sons, we are Brahmanas and we become worshipable for people in general because of our forgiveness, because of the capacity to forgive others. That is a Brahmana, that's the devotee. We should learn to forgive others. And therefore he says, we have received this very exalted post because we have this quality of forgiveness. Because forgiveness pleases Lord Hari. Shamaya rochate lakshmir brahmi shauri yatha prabha shaminamashu bhagavan tushyate haririshwara. When somebody shows forgiveness, Supreme Lord is pleased with that person. Prabhupada writes a very interesting purport. He quotes a verse from Chanakya Niti. He says, various personalities, they become beautiful by possessing different qualities. Just like Kaku, although it is black. Kaku is beautiful because of the sweet voice. A woman becomes beautiful by the chastity and faithfulness to the husband. Ugly person, he becomes beautiful because of his scholarship. A Brahmana becomes beautiful by forgiveness. Kshatriya becomes beautiful by heroism. Vaishya becomes beautiful by cultural activities and protecting cows. And a Shudra becomes beautiful by faithfully serving and pleasing the superiors, the masters. So therefore, Jamadagni says, killing an emperor is more sinful than killing a cow or killing a Brahmana. What you should do, Parshuram, go to all the holy places and purify yourself of this sin. Prabhupada writes there, Parshuram is Supreme Lord. He has Chit Shakti. He is endowed with Chit Shakti. He is never contaminated with all these sinful reactions. But still, he is doing this. He will go to all the holy places. Parshuram will go to set right example for people in general. Because if great people, they become whimsical and they do whatever they want, then people, normal people, general people will follow. That's why Parshuram, following the instructions of Jamadagni, he went to all the holy places and wandered for 1 year to purify himself of the sin of killing a Kshatriya whimsically. So this is the end of the 15th chapter. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So if anybody has any questions, you can please ask. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.